Today, now that we've had the chance to take a look at inequalities and get back into the habit of graphing them, we're now going to take a look at some multi-step and some special inequalities. So we're going to start first with multi-step. When we have a problem such as 6x plus 2 plus 6x is less than 14, the first thing, as normal, we're going to use the golden rule of algebra to isolate that variable. Always remembering that we need to be sure to flip the inequality sign if we multiply or divide by a negative. And remember, just because a negative is in the problem does not mean you flip the sign. It's only if you multiply or divide by a negative in order to get that variable alone. And then step 3 finally will be to graph. So let's go ahead and take a look at this problem. We have our, I'm going to rewrite it down here, 6x plus 2 plus 6x is less than 14. So the first thing that I see is that I've got two 6x's that I can combine, which will give me 12x plus 2 is less than 14. Then I can say, well, let's go ahead and subtract 2 from both sides, which will give me 12x is less than 12. And I can go ahead and divide by 12 on both sides, noticing that I am not dividing by a negative, so I can keep it, and that gives me x is less than 1. So then if you recall, when we go ahead and do this, I'm going to put my solution in the middle, and I'm going to number every other just to keep things neat. And remember, the big thing that I saw yesterday when we were doing the in-class assignment is that a lot of you guys want to go more negative to the right instead of to the left, so make sure you are careful with that. And then we can go ahead and say, all right, this here is strictly less than, so it's going to be an open circle. I'm going to go ahead and get my highlighter. And it says x is less than 1, and I know that to the left will be less than 1. All right, now we can take a look at the next example. Now we've got here 3 times the quantity 4 minus x is greater than 7. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and distribute that 3, which will give me 12 minus 3x is greater than 7. And then I can subtract 12, remembering that that 12 is positive, so I need to subtract it, which gives me negative 3x is greater than negative 5. I'm going to go ahead and bring this up here to give myself some more room. Negative 3x is greater than 5. Or sorry, negative 5. And then I can go ahead and divide by negative 3, which gives me x. I need to flip the sign because I'm dividing by a negative. And then I get 5/3, or 1 2/3. So what I'm going to do when I make my number line down here is I'm going to reflect that. I'm going to have 1 2/3 be here, and I'm going to let this, I'm going to actually write that a little bit smaller to help me out. 1 2/3, and I'm going to let this be 1 1/3. This is going to be 1. This is going to be 2/3, and this will be 1/3, and this will be 0, and that's negative 1/3. And then here would be 2, and then 1/3, 2/3. This would be 3, 1/3, 2/3. Now, I see here that I once again have it being strictly greater than, so I'm going to make an open circle. And it says x is less than 1 2/3. So I'm going to go the less than route. And if I check, I can always put in a 0 to see that 4 minus 0 is 4. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 is greater than 7, so I know that I did it correctly. Moving on to the next one. We are first going to start off by distributing that 2 into both terms inside the parentheses, which will give me 10x minus 8 is greater than or equal to 6x plus 12. Now when I go ahead to figure out, because I don't like having to worry about whether or not I'm going to flip the sign, I am, instead of flipping the sign, I am going to make sure that when I get my x terms on the same side, I get them so they're positive. So to do that, I'm going to get rid of the 6x on both sides. And by doing that, I'm going to have 4x minus 8 is greater than or equal to 12. Then I can take and add 8 to both sides, which is going to give me, over on this side, I'm going to have 4x is greater than or equal to 20. And then I can divide by 4. And now I don't have to worry about, do I flip the sign, do I not? And I have x is greater than or equal to 5. So when I go ahead and graph this, put 5 here, 7, 9, 11, 3, 1, -1. I can put an closed circle because it is greater than or equal to, and it is greater than or equal to, so I'm going to go ahead and say to the right. Now you see we have one that's a little bit more complicated for D here. So we're going to first start by noticing that I can combine like terms over here as well as over on this side. So when I do that, 5x plus 2x is 7x minus 11, less than or equal to 2x plus 7x is 9x minus 7. When I get my x terms, I'm going to subtract 7x because that'll keep my x terms positive, which will give me negative 11 is less than or equal to 2x minus 7. Then I can go ahead and add 7, which is going to give me negative 4 is less than or equal to 2x, dividing by 2 on both sides, giving me negative 2 is less than or equal to x. Now when I number my number line, I have negative 2 here. Remember, more negative, and this goes less negative and more positive. I have a closed circle at negative 2. Now here's the one that gets you guys hung up because the variable is on the right side. So we want to check. I'm going to take 0. If I put this in, negative 2 is less than or equal to 0, that would be correct. So therefore, I'm going to shade to the right. Let's take a look at one more example dealing with more complicated of problems. Start off here by going ahead and distributing the 2 as well as distributing the 5, which gives me 2x plus 8 is greater than 5x minus 5 plus 4. Then I see, well, I've got this minus 5 plus 4 that I can combine, which will give me 2x plus 8 is greater than 5x minus 1. Now when it comes to deciding where I'm going to go, I see that I have a 5x, so I want to get the 2x over to the other side, which will give me 8 is greater than 3x minus 1. And I can go ahead and add 1 on both sides, which is going to result in me having 9 is greater than 3x. I want to make sure I divide by 3 on both sides, which is going to give me 3 is greater than x. So now when I number my number line, I'm going to put my 3 around the middle, 5, 7, 9, 1, -1, -3. I have an open circle at 3 because it's strictly greater than. And once again, I'm going to check. I like to pick 0. 0 is right here. And if I put in here 3 is greater than 0, so I know that I need to shade to the left. The next thing we'll get into are special solutions.